Well, good evening again. It's Sunday night, and it's about 10:45, and I think I'm going to get through 2 chapters tonight. We got a little bit of a graphic, courtesy of my mom, who put this together during a study they did a while back and sent it to me, knowing that I was going through this. So I appreciate that, Mom. Thank you very much. But we're going to get through Numbers 2 and 3 because they go together, and it's the setup of the camp around the tabernacle, and we're going to see a shift in the way things are going. Remember, we're now in the second month of the second year here. I believe it's the second month. That I know we're in the second year. Let me check that because it's late and my memory fails me. First day of the second month in the second year, yeah. So, anyway, we're going to talk about the way that the camp is set up in these 2 chapters, and we'll comment on a few things. But again, these first few chapters are just numbering, not too much depth to it in the sense of the things like soteriology, salvation issues, or eschatology, end times type stuff. So not necessarily needed. Not everything in the Bible is there a need to just go way deep into anything, but it is good to understand them as they are presented. So let's get started into this. Numbers chapter 2 and verse 1. And Jehovah spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, Every man of the children of Israel shall pitch by his own standard with the ensign of their father's house, far off about the tabernacle of the congregation shall they pitch. Now it's interesting, the idea of the ensign of their father's house, or the standard. The way that they were to be recognized was by this ensign on the standard. And in the New Testament, there's only one tribe, and the ensign on the standard that is lifted up is Christ himself. And so we are of our Father's house when we talk about God the Father, and Jesus Christ is the standard lifted up. We even sing about it, and it's mentioned several times that way, that Jesus is the sign that is lifted up, and is the sign of the Father's house. So very good type, anti-type nod there. But anyway, we're talking about the physical standards for the houses of Israel, and they're going to be divided up into 4 sections: north, south, east, and west. And then there's going to be chapter 3 is a special designation for the Levites. So we'll get into how those are divided up as we go along. So it says that they will pitch by his own standard with the ensign of their father's house, far off about the tabernacle of the congregation shall they pitch. Now, remember, there's 2 tabernacles. There's the tabernacle of the congregation, which is where Moses was. That was kind of the civil authority, and now it's being brought into the camp, and it was going to be set right next to the tabernacle of the covenant, which is where they had the holy place, the most holy place, and the altar and all of that. So they're gonna be about both of those things now. And the bringing in of the tabernacle of the congregation is now God. Remember, when Moses brought down the law from Sinai, they were worshiping the golden calf, and he destroyed the tablet of stones that had the laws on it. And God was going to destroy all of the Israelites and start over with Moses, and Moses pled with him to don't do that. And so God says, well, I'm not going with you then. That y'all are too stiff-necked, you're too stubborn of a people. And Moses again pled on their behalf, ended up being called back up the mountain, got another set of tablets that he had to carve himself. And to get the laws, the kind of day-to-day details, he had to establish a tent outside of the camp, far outside of the camp. And this was the tabernacle of the congregation, where anybody who wanted anything to petition Moses for something according to the civil law had to go way outside of the camp and get that. And that represented the separation of God from his people because of their sin. Well, now the Israelites are doing what they're supposed to be doing. They've built the tabernacle the way that they were supposed to build the tabernacle according to those laws that Moses got from Sinai. They have put the priestly vestments in. They've started the sacrifices the way that God has said to do it. And we're starting to see that the children of Israel, not just Moses, but remember Numbers chapter 1, the children of Israel did all that Jehovah had commanded them to do. And so God is seeing that they are obedient, and he brings that tabernacle of the congregation into the camp to demonstrate that he is with them and that he will go with them to the promised land. And so he says, all right, this is how I want you to set up the camp. And if I look like a little tired and I'm rubbing my eyes are a little dry. I was putting the little one to sleep before I came up here, so it'll take me a little bit to get those watered and up and running fully. So just bear with me on that. All right, it says in verse 3, and on the east side toward the rising of the sun shall they of the standard of the camp of Judah pitch throughout their armies, and Nashon the son of Amminadab shall be captain of the children of Judah. Now understand this, on the east side there is a big group that is under the authority of Judah, and this guy Nashon is the general over that section. There's 4 generals. So Judah is the main camp, but within Judah are 3 tribes, including the tribe of Judah. And his host and those that were numbered of them were threescore and 14,600. This is from chapter 1. So that 74,600 is from Judah. And those that do pitch next unto him shall be the tribe of Issachar, and Nathaniel the son of Zuar shall be captain of the children of Issachar, and his host and those that were numbered thereof were 54,400. Then the tribe of Zebulun, and Eliab the son of Helon shall be captain of the children of Zebulun, and his host and those that were numbered thereof were 57,400. Now listen, all that were numbered in the camp of Judah, okay, this is the camp of Judah, were 100,000 and 4,000 and 6,400. So what that big number is 186,400. Throughout their armies, these shall first set forth. So these guys were going to lead. Whenever they picked up to leave the camp, Judah's group would pick up and they would go first. All right, so I'll show you this picture here. So here's the whole camp. And then you have the 4 camps that are named. The first of these is Judah. So we're going to kind of zoom in here on Judah. And they give you the first total is 186,400. So this is the camp of Judah. And in the camp of Judah are the tribes of Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. And these are all the children of Leah. Okay? Now remember, Judah is the 4th son. But the older 3 sons were kind of set aside. Normally it's the oldest son that gets the blessing and whatever, but the older 3 sons were set aside because they did not they did different things that were displeasing to God. And so Judah, being the 4th son, is given a place of great honor. This is the tribe that David comes from. This is the tribe that Jesus eventually comes from. And this is the tribe that, except for King Saul, the kings of Israel and later the kingdom of Judah, they all come from this tribe. So this is a beginning of all of those blessings that were given to Judah, the son, being realized in the tribe. Now remember, Judah's the man Judah is no longer alive, but his tribe is getting all of those blessings that were given to him. And a lot of the times when we see these blessings given to these men, it's really talking about their descendants. And that's why, like, when we get into Romans chapter 9, and it talks about Jacob and Esau before they were ever, while they were still in the womb, before they had ever sinned, before they had ever done good or evil or anything, that God said that the older will serve the younger. Well, Jacob the man never served. I mean, Esau the man never served Jacob the man. It was the other way around. Jacob was kind of a homebody. He was always feeding Esau after he came in from a hunt. And then later on, when he ran away because he was scared of his brother, he comes back with all his family and he says, I'm your servant and whatever, and they make up and everything. But there's no time that Esau ever serves Jacob individually. But down the road, we'll see that the Edomites, who are descended from Esau, do indeed serve the Israelites as a people. And so we're seeing the people that are of the tribe of Judah receiving that blessing that Judah was given by Israel. All right, so here's the camp, here's the tribe, and here's the three younger sons of Leah. They're counted up 186,400 when they first leave camp here. All right, so verse 10. On the south side shall be the standard of the camp of Reuben, according to their armies, and the captain of the children of Reuben shall be Elizur, the son of Shadur, and his host, and those that were numbered thereof were 46,500. And those which pitched by him shall be the tribe of Simeon, and the captain of the children of Simeon shall be Shelumiel, of the son of Zurishaddai, and his host, and those that were numbered of them 59,300. Then the tribe of Gad, and the captain of the sons of Gad shall be Eliasaph, the son of Reuel, and his host, and those that were numbered them 40. Of them were 45,650. All that were numbered in the camp of Reuben were 100,050 and 1,450 throughout their armies, and they shall set forth in the second rank. Okay, so coming back here, we're going to come over here to the camp of Reuben on the south side. Now, Reuben and Simeon are still children of Leah, the sixth son of Leah, because remember, Leah had 6 children. You had 3 over here in the camp of Judah. In the camp of Reuben, you have Reuben and Simeon, and then you had Levi. So those are the children of Leah. And notice the blessing that Leah gets. She's got Judah, who is the like the primary tribe. Like they're the leaders, they're the kings, they're the Messiah comes through that line, and she's also got the priesthood, and that's the Levites. And of course, the Levites are going to get their own special camp and everything. But over here, Reuben and Simeon were those 2 older sons that got passed over for their various sins and whatever. And then Gad is from Zilpah, which was Leah's handmaiden. And so Gad got numbered with Reuben and Simeon, or you might say Reuben and Simeon got numbered with Gad. And then we're going to see that the other handmaid children are in their own camp. So the south and the north are kind of like not important, or not as important, I should say, as the Judah camp and all of those guys. So that's where they're located. And then it says, and all that were numbered in the camp of Reuben were 100,050, 1,450. So just to break that down into English, it's 151,450. And they will set out second in rank. So when they leave the camp, Judah's camp goes first, then Reuben's camp will go. Then the tabernacle of the congregation shall set forward with the camp of the Levites in the midst of the camp. As they encamp, so shall they set forward every man in his place by their standards. Okay, so it was going to be Judah's camp and then Reuben's camp, and that's 6 tribes. And then after that's going to be the tabernacle of the congregation, and the Levites, and the tabernacle of the covenant. But that's going to be broken down and carried by, and we'll see that in chapter 3. So that's going to go in the middle, and then we're going to have the next grouping here. On the west side shall be the standard of the camp of Ephraim, according to their armies. Now remember, Ephraim is of Joseph, and he had 2 sons, and he got a double portion. So Ephraim and Manasseh get their own tribes. But Ephraim is the third camp. And then Ephraim, you're going to read a whole lot about in especially the prophets. And Ephraim does not end up well. They are synonymous with the sin of Israel, the northern tribes. And it's they don't get a good reputation. Now it doesn't start here necessarily, but later on you'll see. All right, but anyway, the captain of the sons of Ephraim shall be Elishama, the son of Ammihud, and his host, and those that were numbered of them were 40,500. And by him shall be the tribe of Manasseh, that's Ephraim's brother, Joseph's other son. And the captain of the children of Manasseh shall be Gamaliel, the son of Pedazur, and his host, and those that were numbered with him, 32,200. Then the tribe of Benjamin. Okay, so we got Joseph and Benjamin, and these are the two sons of Rachel. And the captain of the sons of Benjamin shall be Abidan, the son of Gideoni, and his host, and those that were numbered of them were 35,400. And all that were numbered of the camp of Ephraim were 100,000 and 8,100 throughout their armies. And they shall go forward in the third rank. Right? So over here in the west is camp of Ephraim, and Rachel had Joseph, which is these two tribes, and Benjamin, and they're going to go in the middle as well, protected. Remember, Jacob loved Rachel, and after Joseph, who was his favorite son, you had Benjamin, who kind of took the place of Joseph after Joseph allegedly died, and Jacob was very, very protective because Rachel died giving birth to Benjamin. And so these guys are going to go third in that protected spot behind the tabernacles that were broken down, the tabernacle of the congregation, the tabernacle of the covenant, and the two, I guess, older camps, if you will. And so they only had 108,100. Notice these other guys are a little bit bigger, 186,000, 151,000, 108,000. Okay, and those guys are going to go third after the tents, after the Levites and the tabernacles. Okay, oops, that doesn't work that way. And then verse 25, the standard of the camp of Dan shall be on the north side by their armies. Of course, Dan is one of the sons of Bilhah, who was Rachel's handmaiden. The standard of the camp of Dan shall be on the north side by their armies, and the captain of the children of Dan shall be Ahiezer. I think that's how you pronounce it, because I is usually a long E sound. Ahiezer, the son of Ammishaddai, and his host, and those that were numbered of them were 62,700. And those that encamp by him shall be the tribe of Asher, which you had Gad and Asher were of Zilpah. And the captain of the children of Asher shall be Pagiel, the son of Ochran, and his host, and those that were numbered of them were 41,500. And then the tribe of Naphtali, which Dan and Naphtali were from Bilhah. And the captain of the children of Naphtali shall be Ahira, I think it's Ahira, the son of Enan, or Anan, because E gets the short, or the long A sound, and then A gets the short A sound. Yeah, that's my understanding of the pronunciation anyway, and I'm gonna botch it, so just bear with me as I do my best. And his host, and those that were numbered of them, were 53,400. All they that were numbered in the camp of Dan were 100,050 and 7,600. They shall go hindmost with their standard. Okay, so here's the last camp, the camp of Dan. Now, Dan is an interesting story. When we get to the Promised Land, there's a lot that goes on with Dan, and when he gets to march, and where their land is, and all of that. But notice that they're back up in number, 157,600. They're the same as, essentially, as Reuben. Okay, even a little bit bigger, but they have the rear guard. So they would be protecting the back of this column of Israelites, and so it was an important position militarily, protecting the inner parts of this traveling train. And so there's a lot that goes into this militarily and numerically that God is kind of watching out for them. Okay, so that's the four camps, and it says these are those which were numbered of the children of Israel by the house of their fathers. All those that were numbered of the camps throughout their host were 600,000, 3,550. Same from chapter 1. But the Levites were not numbered among the children of Israel as Jehovah commanded Moses. In other words, they weren't part of the military. And the children of Israel did according to all that Jehovah commanded Moses. Notice that. The children of Israel did according to all that Jehovah commanded Moses. So they're in obedience. And that's why God is walking among them. That's why the tabernacle of the congregation was brought in among them. And we're going to see that here in chapter 3 more clearly. So they pitched by their standards, and so they set forward every one after their families according to the house of their fathers. So they're moving now. They've been here a year, right? They came out of Egypt. They pitched by Sinai for a whole year to deal with these laws and get these laws and kind of just take a breath and become. They're founded as a nation in that first year. That's where God gave them all those commands and everything. Now they're setting out. They're leaving the Sinai foothills, and they're heading towards the promised land. Okay? And then chapter 3, verse 1, these also are the generations of Aaron and Moses. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. And we're going to see here again a reinforcing of the idea that the Israelites were only in Egypt for just over a couple of centuries. They were not there for 430 years, which a lot of people believe. And it's going to talk about the genealogies here. So these are the generations of Aaron and Moses in the day that Jehovah spake with Moses in Mount Sinai. In other words, in that time period that Moses was receiving that law, it was 40 days. And then after that 40 days, we're talking about the rest of the time that they were there. So in the day is just a short time period. Now, understand that when we talk about the word day, if it's numerical, like in Genesis, if there's always an ordinal with it, the first day, second day, third day, it's always 24 hours. But even if we talk about the word day here in a broader context, we're talking at most in this context about a year. And it could be anywhere from a literal day, it could be a week, a month, but it's always a short amount of time. We don't ever talk about a day as equaling like 40 years or 100 years or 1,000 years. So when people get over to 2 Peter 3 and they see a day is 1,000 years and 1,000 years is a day, and they try to make that into a mathematical equation to do all sorts of predictions about when is the end of the world coming, they aren't consistent, for one thing. And the other thing is that they're misunderstanding the context there. The idea is that God is timeless. He's outside of time. And so he is not affected by time. He sees all time simultaneously because of his omniscience. And so to demand that God do something in our time, according to our patience, is foolishness. God takes care of things in his time. That's all that verse means in 2 Peter 3. I think it's in verse 8. That God will do things when God sees it's necessary to do things. And to add any more meaning to that passage than that is to go well beyond. Is your eisegesis, you're pushing meaning into it that isn't meant to be there contextually, and you're fishing for something. You're looking for support for something that you already believe instead of just drawing meaning out. So, in the day that Jehovah spake with Moses in Mount Sinai. And these are the names of the sons of Aaron: Nadab the firstborn, and Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. Now remember, if you watched the video on the 230 years and the population, I said that we could extend potentially out to the next generation to alleviate. So, it was 31, I think it was 31 children per family, but if we extended it out to the fourth generation as they were leaving, some of those, about half of those may have had children, and so we could have broadened that out to only 19 children per male for those generations on average. And we're going to find out here that that's almost exactly correct, because Nadab and Abihu don't have children. Their lines are completely cut off. They never have children. So because of their sin, that's the end of their line. And Eleazar and Ithamar are the ones that continue the priesthood all the way up through the time of Christ. So these are the names of the sons of Aaron, the priests which were anointed, whom he consecrated to minister in the priest's office. Okay, it goes all the way back to Exodus. And Nadab and Abihu died before Jehovah when they offered strange fire before Jehovah in the wilderness of Sinai, and they had no children. So understand this. Nadab and Abihu added to God's word. God said, do it this way. Nadab and Abihu said, you know what? We're going to do it a different way. God said, offer this particular fire. We're gonna use this fire over here instead. They thought they knew better than God how to worship God. And not only did God kill them immediately for it, but he ended their lines effectively by killing them before they had any children. God is serious about not adding to his word. God is very, very serious about when he specifies something, don't add to it. And it's made very clear throughout the books of Moses. Do what God commands. Don't add to it. Don't take away from it. Okay? So, continuing verse 4, and Eleazar and Ithamar ministered in the priest's office in the sight of Aaron their father. And Jehovah spake unto Moses, and in the sight of Aaron their father. Aaron, of course, was the high priest for most of his days. And Jehovah spake unto Moses, saying, bring the tribe of Levi near, and present them before Aaron the priest, that they may minister unto him. Okay, so remember, Aaron and his sons and his descendants were going to be the priest. So right now, you've only got Aaron, Ithamar, and Eleazar. There's only 3. But the rest of the Levites were going to be ministers to the priesthood. They were going to handle the day-to-day, the breaking down and the setting up of the tabernacle, the carrying of it when they were journeying. All of that is going to be handled, and it's going to be all laid out right here in this chapter. And they shall keep his charge and the charge of the whole congregation before the tabernacle of the congregation to do the service of the tabernacle. And they shall keep all the instruments of the tabernacle of the congregation and the charge of the children of Israel to do the service of the tabernacle. And thou shalt give the Levites unto Aaron and unto his sons, and they are wholly given unto him out of all the children of Israel. And so every Levite, all of them, were in service to the priesthood and in service to the tabernacle. And you shall appoint Aaron and his sons, and they shall wait on their priest's office, and the stranger that comes nigh shall be put to death. Now this is the second time that this is repeated. This in the book of Numbers. It says it in chapter 1, it says it here, and it's going to say it again 3 times in these 3 chapters when they're setting up the camp. Don't let strangers near the tabernacle. They will be put to death. Okay? Now, why are the Levites wholly given? They're not part of the army. They're set aside. They're not allowed to serve in the military because they're supposed to support the priesthood. So why is that? Well, we're going to talk about that. Verse 11, and Jehovah spake unto Moses, saying, and I, behold, I have taken the Levites from among the children of Israel instead of all the firstborn that openeth the matrix among the children of Israel. Therefore the Levites shall be mine. So remember back in Exodus, when they were coming across the Red Sea, God said, because I have taken the life of all the firstborn of Egypt, I require all the life of the firstborn in service to me of every tribe. But he says, what I'm going to do instead, though, is I'm going to have the whole tribe of Levi represent those firstborn, and the whole tribe of Levi is going to serve me instead. And that leaves the firstborn, and it reduces the complexity, really, is what it does. And so the Levites were going to be stand-ins for all the firstborn that God required because of what he did to save the Israelites, to get them out of Egypt. Okay, so they're going to be instead of all the firstborn of the children of Israel. Because all the firstborn are mine, for on the day that I smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, I hallowed, that is sanctified, that is set apart unto me all the firstborn in Israel, both man and beast, mine shall they be, I am Jehovah. So the Levites are representative of that. Well, who is the representative of the firstborn? Think about that in the New Testament. Who is the firstborn of the resurrection from the dead? The first person to die and be resurrected, never to die again. who represents all of the rest of spiritual Jerusalem, the heavenly Jerusalem, which is a stand-in for Israel. That is Christ. And so he is the high priest. He is again, we're typifying here Christ. Everything points to Jesus in the Old Testament. Everything we look at is pointing to Jesus. And so instead of everybody having to give their firstborn in service to the temple, instead the Levites are a representation of the firstborn. And so Jesus is a representation of all those that he died for on the cross. He is on the cross instead of the rest of us. And so just understand once again that type antitype that we're looking at here. All right, verse 14. And Jehovah spake unto Moses in the wilderness of Sinai, saying, Number the children of Levi after the house of their fathers by their families, every male from a month old, not 20 years, but a month old and upwards, shall you number them. And Moses numbered them according to the word of Jehovah as he was commanded. And these were the sons of Levi by their names. Now understand, we're going all the way back to Levi, the actual man Levi, who was the son of Jacob. All right, the sons of Levi were Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. Okay, 3 sons. These 3 guys, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari, came into Egypt as part of the 70. And these are the names of the sons of Gershon by their families, Libni and Shimei. Yeah, something like that. And the sons of Kohath by their families, Amram, Izahar, Hebron, and Uziel. Now, please understand, we have already said that there is an average of at least 19 per family. But also understand that those numbers are probably going to be weighted more heavily on the back end rather than the front end, because when they came into Israel, there was the time period where they were in Goshen, where everything was great. Joseph was still alive. Pharaoh was still pleased with Joseph and all of that. And so they weren't necessarily multiplying as rapidly. And then it wasn't until a new Pharaoh comes in that God has really kind of cranked up the blessings on having children. And then you have when the midwives refuse to help Pharaoh kill the babies, God blesses their labors even more, and so there's even more of a blessing towards the latter end. So yes, Gershon has 2, Kohath has 4, and then Merari has 2. So we're seeing kind of short families. Also understand that we're also dealing with only direct descendants. We're not dealing with like if there were concubines and those kinds of things. Just like when we talk about Adam and Eve. You know, how many sons and daughters did Adam and Eve have? Well, we don't know. We know 3 named ones because they were important to the story. But, as far as unnamed ones, they had quite a few. And so there's a lot of things to keep in mind here when we talk about the numbering. But specifically, when we get into this, and also keep in mind that Levi, Kohath, Amram, Moses, and Aaron. That's the step. It's there's no break. So you have Levi, who was born in the Middle East area, the Palestinian area, and then Kohath is brought into Egypt, Amram, and then Moses and Aaron. And so we're not even if you think about Moses, his life was 80 years before they came out of Egypt. So that 80 years was a part of that 230 years, and they had long lifespans. And so it fits together. It works out precisely and perfectly over the course of these generations. But keep in mind these numbers as we go along and as we talk about where they are. All right, so, and the sons of Merari by their families, Mahali and Mushi. These are the families of the Levites according to the house of their fathers. Of Gershon was the family of the Libnites, that's from Libni, and the family of the Shemites. These are the families of the Gershonites. Those that were numbered of them, according to the number of all the males, from a month old and upward, even those that were numbered of them, 7,500. And the families of the Gershonites shall pitch behind the tabernacle westward. So the Gershonites are going to be over there with Joseph and Benjamin. So if we look at the picture again, these guys right here are the Gershonites. Okay, and Mom has written in here Gershon. All right, and they are responsible. Says, and the chief of the house of the father of the Gershonites shall be Eliasaph, the son of Lael. And the charge of the sons of Gershon and the tabernacle of the congregation shall be the tabernacle and the tent, the covering thereof, and the hanging for the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. So they got all the cloth stuff. The hangings of the court, and the curtain for the door of the court, which is by the tabernacle, and by the altar round about, and the cords of it for all the service thereof. All right, so the Gershonites were on the west side, and they got all the cloth stuff. That was their responsibility. And of Kohath was the family of the Amramites, and the family of the Izharites, and the family of the Hebronites, and the family of the Uzzielites. These are the families of the Kohathites. And the number of all the males from a month old and upward were 8,600, keeping it in charge of the sanctuary. The families of the sons of Kohath shall pitch on the side of the tabernacle southward. So the Kohathites were going to be down here, and they were going to be down here with Reuben and these guys, and their responsibilities are listed next. It says, and the chief of the house of the father of the family of the Kohathites shall be Elizaphan, the son of Uzziel, and their charge shall be the ark, and the table, and the candlesticks, and the altars, and the vessels of the sanctuary wherewith they minister, and the hanging of all the service thereof. So the ark, which was in the most holy place, the table for the showbread, the candlestick, and the altars. Okay, so they got all of the hefty stuff, like the super, I guess the guts of the whole tabernacle thing. Whereas the Gershonites were getting all the cloth, and we're going to see the Merari people are going to get all of like the poles and the blocks and the heavy stuff. The Kohathites, from which Moses and Aaron come out of, are actually responsible for the altar, the ark, the table for the showbread, and the candles and stuff. They got like the main thing there that the tent or that the tabernacle covers. Okay, and the hanging and all the service thereof. And Eleazar the son of Aaron the priest shall be chief over the chief of the Levites, and have the oversight of them that keep charge of the sanctuary. So you see, Eleazar is the son of Aaron, who's the son of Amram, who's the son of Kohath, who's the son of Levi. And so Eleazar, who's one of the priests, is being set in charge over this part of it because he's a priest, and they are handling all the stuff that the priests are supposed to deal with. Now remember, they're not supposed to touch the ark. They're not supposed to touch the altar. They're supposed to carry everything with these staves that go through the sides of it and pick it up by those staves, not by directly touching them. They're not allowed to. So Eleazar was responsible for making sure they did that. And then of Merari was the family of the Malites and the family of the Mushites. These are the families of Merari. And those that were numbered of them, according to the number of all the males, from a month old and upward, were 6,200. And the chief of the house of the father of the families of Merari was Zuriel, the son of Abihail. These shall pitch on the side of the tabernacle northward. So, not that one. Northward. So this is where Merari's people were going to be, and they were going to be up here with the camp of Dan. And they would be marching out in that same order. And under the custody and charge, I keep doing that. And under the custody and charge of the sons of Merari shall be the boards of the tabernacle, the bars, the pillars, the sockets, and all the vessels, and all that serves thereto. So they got all the kind of the skeleton, if you will, of the tabernacle, all of the heavy stuff. And the pillars of the court round about, and their sockets, and their pins, and their cords. But those that encamp before the tabernacle toward the east, remember that's where Judah is, even before the tabernacle of the congregation, eastward shall be Moses and Aaron and his sons. So Moses, Aaron, Moses' family, Aaron's family, all of the government, essentially, Both the civil government and the priestly government lived in that eastern section right behind Judah. So Judah is this forward procession, and you have this protecting major camp that protected the government. The biggest part of the army, the most important part of the army, all of that is right there in front of Moses and Aaron and all of those. So that's where they camped out. It says, keeping the charge of the sanctuary for the charge of the children of Israel, and the strangers that cometh nigh shall be put to death. So again, anybody that came inside that circle of the Levi camps. So if you came within this circle here and you were a stranger, they put you to death. And so here's the tabernacle, and then here's where Moses and Aaron and his families lived, the priests and all those guys lived. And they marched right behind the camp of Judah on the east side, with the tabernacle right in the middle. It says, all that were numbered of the Levites, which Moses and Aaron numbered at the commandment of Jehovah throughout their families, all the males from a month old and upward, were 22,000. Okay, so the families of Moses and Aaron, that's everybody that was part of their camps, were 22,000. Okay. Now, Moses and Aaron are not numerous by themselves. You know, Moses had a couple of boys, Aaron had 2 boys left, and they had children, but they had other parts of Amram's people that would have been like cousins and nephews and all of that were directly related. Plus you had all of the people that Moses had, his right hand man that served, that were mentioned earlier in Exodus, people that like Joshua that would have come to work for Moses there, not necessarily lived with him, but it would have kind of like office tents there. So 22,000 people that were directly servicing Moses and Aaron, that all camped in that area. And Jehovah said unto Moses, number all the firstborn of the males of the children of Israel from a month old and upward, and take the number of their names. So now, number all the firstborn of the males of the children of Israel. Okay, so we're just doing the boys, but a month old and upward, and take the number of their names. And you shall take the Levites for me, I am Jehovah, instead of all the firstborn. So they're gonna go through the whole camp. They're gonna number all the firstborn. They're gonna count them up. How many males are there that are the firstborn of every family? And then he says, you're gonna take out of the Levites. You're gonna count the number that there are total of Levites, and you're gonna subtract those 2 numbers instead of all the firstborn among the children of Israel. And the cattle of the Levites instead of all the firstlings among the cattle of the children of Israel. So you can do the same thing with the cattle. You can get all the firstborn of all the cows, all the sheep, all of the everybody of all of the animals of the whole camp of Israel. And then you're going to count all, not just the firstborn, but you're going to count all of the cattle of the Levites, and you're going to take that instead and subtract those 2 numbers. And then the difference is something that they're going to deal with another way, because there weren't as many Levites as there were firstborn. The tribes were just too big. So God says, this is how you're going to redeem these firstborn that should be mine. Instead, you're going to give it to the Levites to take care of the Levites. You're going to transfer that wealth to the Levites for their upkeep. So Moses numbered as Jehovah commanded him all the firstborn among the children of Israel, and all the firstborn males by the number of names from a month old and upward of those who were numbered of them were 22,213. Okay, so he numbers all of the males that are not of Levi, all of the firstborn males, and there are 22,273. And then the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, take the Levites instead of all the firstborn among the children of Israel, and the cattle of the Levites instead of their cattle, and the Levites shall be mine, I am Jehovah. So they're representative here of the firstborn. And for those that are to be redeemed of the 213 of the firstborn of the children of Israel, which are more than the Levites, so the difference between them, you shall even take 5 shekels apiece by the poll. After the shekel of the sanctuary you shall take them. The shekel is 20 gerahs. And you shall give the money wherewith the odd number of them is to be redeemed. In other words, the difference is to be redeemed unto Aaron and to his sons. So those tribes were going to transfer as a ransom, or not as a ransom, but a redemption price for their firstborn. So they keep the firstborn, but they give the money, the wealth, the property to the Levites instead for their upkeep. So Moses took the redemption money of them that were over and above them that were redeemed by the Levites. Of the firstborn of the children of Israel took he the money, 1,365 shekels. So 1,365 shekels after the shekel of the sanctuary. So, see here. So 5 shekels apiece. So divide that number. So we pull up a calculator because it's too late for me to do math in my head. You got 1,360. What did I say it was? Come on. And 65. And so divide by 5. There were 273. 273 more firstborn of all the tribes than there were Levites. And so that's why there was that specific number. Moses gave the money of them that were redeemed unto Aaron and to his sons, according to the word of Jehovah, as Jehovah commanded Moses. So there you have. You have the camp. Thanks again to Mom for putting this together. If you would like a copy of this, you can message me on Facebook, or you can leave a comment and how you want me to get this to you, and I will happily send this to you, or you can just take a screenshot and do it that way. I will try to find a way to actually post this up somehow as an attachment. I don't know how to do that in YouTube, but I'll somehow get this to you if you want a copy. It's really cool. She did a really good job of putting this together, taking notes and whatnot. So if you want a copy, let me know and I'll get it to you. But that is Numbers 2 and 3, and I really appreciate you being here. It's been a lot of fun for me. A lot of this, as you can probably tell, is just details that have been glossed over and have not really stuck. Because in studying them in the past, it was just, okay, yeah, they numbered some people, and there wasn't much more to it. And I've never taught it before in any meaningful sense. So for me to be able to go over this in this video and present this to you, again, one of the main reasons I'm doing this is for myself, to have to present this to somebody else, to understand it well enough to present it. And my understanding's not perfect. I'm not claiming that at all. But to be able to understand it with more depth even than what I had growing up is cool for me. I'm really, really getting a lot out of this. And so I hope you are too. I hope you have, if you do have questions, or if I make a mistake, because like I tell my math and physics students, guys, I make mistakes. And if you call me on them, I'm not going to try to get out of it or, blow it off or anything like that. I'll be like, yeah, I made a mistake, and I learned from it, and hopefully other people are learning from my mistakes. That's what Solomon said wisdom is learning from other people's mistakes. And, it's been a very beneficial thing for me to be able to do this, and I'm very, very glad I'm able to present this. And I'm very grateful to you for coming along on this journey, to walk through verse by verse what the Bible is teaching us. So anyway, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day or rest of your evening or whatever time you happen to be viewing this. And I'm looking forward to Numbers chapter 4. Good night.